Hey, everybody. Welcome to Improv FAQ at Length. This is a series of longer conversations about improv topics that have lots of questions surrounding them. I'm James Quesada.
And I'm Bob Wick.
And this is a live episode. We're going to be talking about the topic of questions, using questions in improv. There's generally a rule against it, or it's something that at the early stages of learning improv that you're encouraged to avoid. And we'll talk about why that is. And as you become a more intermediate to advanced improviser, how that kind of changes and all sorts of other related ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's start with why at the beginning we considered, or we frowned upon asking questions.
There's definitely a simpler way to say it, but what I've taken to actually leading with, if I'm teaching like an intro one or first level, is that if you think about it, questions don't have any truth value. If you ask a question, the question you ask is neither true or false. It's just a question. So we haven't really said anything to build a reality, and that's our goal in an improv scene, especially in the beginning, is to figure out what is real, aka what is true. And if a question doesn't have any truth value, then it doesn't help in that process.
I mean, and if you want to get simpler, we start this whole thing. we start this whole thing with yes and when you question or ask questions, you're not yesing or anding, you're just like what ifing, or but either poking holes in reality or trying to extract from your partner rather than give gifts.
Yeah, that's really what it's usually tied to, right? Is that
right.
I guess sometimes I kind of skip that explanation because I just feel like, one, I don't want to be accusatory to people to be like, you're afraid to make choices.
You don't have to say it like that. Because I don't think people realize what they're doing when they're asked questions. I mean, every time I've ever point out, because it's a common bad habit for someone to be a question asker. And every time I've ever pointed out, like, hey, this next scene, don't ask a question. The first thing they're going to do is ask a question. They can't help themselves. They don't know it. It's habitual.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is, that again is more like the habit. The source of the habit is fear, just like uncertainty, and not either. Well, there's two sides of it, right? I think you mentioned them both, which is you're either kind of like timid to make a choice or decide what's going on, or you just haven't geared yourself toward doing that, or you're putting all the pressure on your scene partner. So it's kind of two different things. It's one part.
I would add one more. Like it might be just the natural way you talk too. Like I'd add that third part in there, because some people that's the way. Like, well, wouldn't you want to do this? Or hey, I mean, am I right? That kind of. And those are bad examples, but good example. Yeah.
And so that's actually why I skip the part where I say usually people ask questions out of fear or control, and I go right to it doesn't have any truth value, because almost certainly in a large first level improv class, somebody's gonna hear that and be the person that's like, oh, well, that's not a problem for me. I'm actually pretty comfortable asking questions, and I don't care if I'm in control or not. And it's like, fine,
right.
You know what I mean? So I just kind of like skip over it. But if and this is a live episode, so if you're just tuning in, we are on the topic of asking questions in improv scenes, and right now we're talking about like why that there's generally a rule against it when you start out, and we're kind of going over why that is. If you have additional questions and commentary, you can feel free to leave a comment and we'll see it and get to it. Bob, are you hosting a watch party on this one?
Yeah, always hosting a watch party. Yeah, buddy.
Okay, so if there's any watch party questions, Bob's got it. Otherwise,
I got you.
yeah, I'll see him on the
So if
main
I'm looking down, I'm looking at my watch party. I'm not just like
feed.
playing
And
words with friends or something.
that's a bummer when if there's a watch party for a live feed and you and the questions you ask on the live feed on the
Right.
watch party there's not a way for you to get it onto the live feed. You got to put it onto the direct thing. So fortunately, you are on the live the watch
On the
party.
other half of this, yeah.
Yeah. If anybody else is out there right now hosting their own watch party, just know we're not seeing your comments.
Well, yeah, and cut and paste them onto the main feed. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Uh,
So,
but while we're at it, shout out to Fred Schubach. Shout out to our girl Tam White. They're watching at the watch party.
oh hell yeah! Hey Fred. Hey Tam.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
Tam's got a new show coming up really quick. Her and Jake. Yeah, that's gonna be dope.
what do we know the details? I've heard a little bit. I'm excited for it.
It's like a hip hop jam, but that's how it was explained to me. And I said that the most old man dude way to say. I believe it's a hip hop jam, and all the kids are raving about it. It's gonna be a super duper fun time. And Tam just left.
Tam is out.
Tam said, dropped her mic and left. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So let's talk about what as you get a little bit more intermediate, what the kind of qualifiers are for when it starts to be okay to ask questions again. Because one of the things that I'll point out is that you can imply information in questions,
Right?
Even though it's not true or false, strictly speaking. You can still embed like oh, when'd you get the Ferrari? It's like that implies there's a
hey
Ferrari.
man, how's that divorce going? You know,
right?
You still vegan? Yeah, like something that adds a little information that I think has some value to those questions, because again, it's a natural way to speak. So I generally don't think questions are bad. I think but they can be a bad habit if they don't have anything attached to it as far as information or emotion.
Yeah. The question has to matter, or like I guess like in the beginning of a scene, if it's probably still not best to ask questions, no matter how deep into improv you are. It's fine, but it's probably not best. The best thing to do is make statements, and again, because you're building a reality. The after that point, I guess, like, again, questions, like you said, can really naturalize things. So like even if the question doesn't have a ton behind it or a lot of information, if you're just kind of like sinking into the reality and the character and just like getting conversational to feel real, then letting yourself talk how people talk is a good idea and might include a couple questions. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And especially at the beginning, I'm just going to say what you just said. I think it's stronger to make a strong statement, because these characters should already know who they are to each other, and where they're at for the most part. So those kind of questions, like if you're approaching those three topics, like, hey man, where are we? You know, not
yeah.
Hey man, who are you? Hey man, who am I? What are we doing here? Like, those are like those five are like my no list.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, because it's just like, just get into it. Because when you're improvising, especially when you're improvising in front of audience, you're hosting a story for the most part. So you should know what's going on. You're taking care of everybody who's sitting down and will hopefully pay to get in. So this uncertainty, this, unless it's a choice, I don't think it's a strong play.
Yeah, that's always, I think, the overarching, almost like to me, I don't know why I'm trying to nail down exactly whether I'm gonna sign my life away on this, but I think it is one of the most fundamental sort of rules or guidelines, which is you should make sure that you're doing things out of a choice and not out of a habit. And because that applies to like everything, whether it's, you know, using a literal yes and or asking questions or having conflict scenes or status. It's like everything in improv can work, but you have to make sure it's a choice and not a habit.
Yeah. Because another mistake that happens when you're asking too many questions, you might make something that's usually an everyday thing for the characters in the world that you establish into what makes the day different because it seems unusual to you because you're questioning the reality.
Yes. Yeah. So here's an interesting kind of flip side of it. Just I feel like a lot of the time when we talk rules, we just kind of leave it at like you're better off not doing this or you're better off doing this, and we don't really address the fact that it's going to happen regardless of whether or not it's a good idea. Like people are going to ask questions, and there's going to be
you can't help yourself sometimes. Yeah.
Well, and you might be the other person in the scene with somebody who is having a hard time getting over that hump. So, like, do you have any advice on like when you're in the first few classes and people are green and still doing like the questions from fear or questions from control? Like, how do you play with that? Like, what's a good way to answer those questions or interact with those somebody who's stuck in that mode?
Pick a very strong character. If your character is grounded, it should be able to answer any question that the other character is given to them. You know, like just, you know, and honestly, I think about it as going to a gym, playing with a difficult player is like going to the gym and lifting extra heavy weight. So when it comes time when you have to lift like everyday weight, it's not as hard because you put in the work. You know, like gym people do. But yeah, I mean, honestly, if you know who you are, if you just fine, if this person wants to play in the I don't know world, if you're coming from like I got this, I'm going to be your Sherpa. Cool. It sometimes it's hard, and after a while, it's not fun. You know, we play with that person, and for some people, the question things is hard. It's hard, and you just have to understand everybody's going to have their own thing they have to tackle at the beginning of this journey. So stick with them. You know, hopefully they're working on it. It's not your job to fix them. Like Susan Messing says, if you're not having fun in the scene, you're the asshole. So make it fun.
Yeah. Keep it fun. Yeah, because I feel like if you're frustrated by it and that comes out in the character, then it can also make the other person feel kind of bad or the audience uncomfortable about like, oh, what's going on here? Like they seem kind of pissed about this.
And there's a couple of other ways you could play with it. Like if they don't know something that they should know, like why don't they know that? And it could either become your secret or it could be something to play with.
Yeah, you can playfully be like, what do you mean? What do I got here? It's a baseball bat. Like you can see it, right?
Yeah. And I honestly, I wouldn't brush it off them not knowing something they should know. I would really dig into it. Like, oh, how's your divorce going? Am I getting a divorce? Oh man, you're the last one to know. Oh man, I am sorry. I should be the guy to tell you that. Yeah, she's already packed and got man. You like just go into it. Really lean into it.
Yeah. Yeah. Am I getting a divorce?
Am I?
Yeah. Sorry, dude. Yeah. Okay. So it in intermediate, like we said, it kind of becomes more of a is there ever a time when it's like a good a more effective idea to use questions? I'm thinking of like if you're playing the voice of the audience and somebody's doing like a weird behavior, like are there times when you would be like feel free, fire at will with the questions.
Oh yeah. If you're building such a fantastical world and you need to ground something, but you need help explaining, or honestly, if another good reason is if you're the actor asking, like, I honestly don't know what we're doing here. What is going on? Like, if you are lost, like if you are like, man, Parmenter came in hard this time. I have no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a comfort with,
right.
As players. And again, that kind of changes aside from like the content of the scene or like the function of questions. It's like, as you become intermediate and advanced, you become more comfortable. So early on, part of the reason that questions are problematic is because the person asking them might have those bad habits of asking from fear or control. And the other person might also not be so comfortable being like, I don't know. Like, I brought, what do you have? Like, so when you're both more comfortable, then if you are like, I'm not sure what you're going for, then exactly. Yeah. You know that if you're like, oh yeah, man, so what's on the menu today? Like, you can kind of really, and I think for characters too, like, there's like a Comedy Bang Bang or plenty of like interview character based shows where it's like, basically, if you have a character, poke and prod at the character, and definitely questions are going to be able to do that,
because the character is what makes the day different. If something's very big or fantastical, yeah, go for it. I also think like we play that game, not charades, Party Quirks.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ever play Party Quirks, you're asking a lot of questions because each of the people coming to your party have something specific they need to tell you, but it's so far out of your reach as the actor that you're going to need to ask questions to get there. So it's you're poking around, but it's like the whole game, you're not just question. You're kind of offering up stuff. You're trying to figure something out. You figure out their secret. So sometimes information, can get like that during a long form scene, and you might need to ask a question just to get you on the same page.
Yeah, and that's a great example. Guessing games,
right?
But just, I think it's a great analogy too to long form scenes or strong character choices. Because again, assuming that you're both comfortable and in a groove, then you're, by asking questions, really setting your scene partner up. Questions can actually be an empowering thing, which seems counterintuitive. But like, if someone's on fire and coming in with a character that seems like they're just in it, then really, just like in Party Quirks, they know what's going on. Like that the thing that they're hinting takes a different form. It's just like it's what your scene partner is tapped into. And so like the more that you can set them up with questions, the more that you're gonna have them reveal what their thing is.
yeah, or absolutely. Or if it's something that they're trying to workshop in that moment, maybe asking a question can inspire them to do more with it,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So those are good questions.
Yeah, those are good types of questions.
Good job.
Okay, so actually over on the side here we have Nicole. Hey, Nicole.
Hey.
Asking an open Q&A question off the subject of questions in improv scenes. Different topic. Nicole asks, what do you do when you awkwardly tag someone out of a scene, but the wrong people exit and everyone is meaning awkward?
Then you're in true improv land, right? Because you have no preconceived notion. But I mean, you have the advantage though, right? You know what their character is. So usually comedically you make them a fish out of water, or if they were low status in the last scene, make them high status, or show a different aspect of their life.
Yeah, but I think Nicole's saying if your intention is you have a strong idea for person A,
right?
and person B accidentally stays.
Yeah.
You yeah.
Oops. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Okay. So
There's no mulligans in life.
like,
I don't know what to tell
just,
you. Yeah. You keep on going.
but
you tell them in the green room, like, oh, I had this great idea.
yeah. Well, okay. But so there's a couple things that I see happen. One, you try to correct course, and you can do that kind of tongue in cheek too, maybe even by breaking the fourth wall or meta. Like no, Jeff, get back here. You out, Jeff, over. That can be funny, and you can kind of move past that. It might disrupt whatever it is, the fluidity of whatever you had in mind. It's almost certainly going to. And then you can also, just.
Well, I would like you also do the thing where you time dash because those characters already know each other, and do like, oh man, wait till Frank gets back here because I got something to tell him.
Yeah. So
hopefully calling that person back on, I guess. Yeah.
So I guess that's the other thing is that you can kind of try to do whatever your idea was, but do it with the person that you accidentally are stuck with. And that's probably the least desirable in my mind is like either meta correct it and hope that you're in you have playful enough momentum for that to kind of get a laugh and course correct, or you were saying, which is just like drop everything and start from scratch. And what is you're with the person from the last scene.
Yeah.
And what else is in their world?
Well, like what you said, be playful about it. We're having fun. We're playing. We're telling stories. Yeah. If you can make a joke out of it. Oh, I'm sorry. I point weird. I meant Jeff. Come back. I don't know why Jeff's so important to this scene, but he's got to come back.
Yeah. And it's also possible that will get a laugh too, that like the audience can see. Probably you probably did something that is more apparent to the audience that you meant to keep the other person than it is to the people you're on stage with and led to the confusion. So if you just sort of like drop everything and kind of like embrace the next awkward moment for a little beat, then that might actually be funny too.
Well, I think about the Middleditch and Schwartz when I think it was the third episode where it was a little wonky and they had to like course correct a lot. That was amazing. I because they already had 2 great episodes. Third episode still great, but it wasn't as smooth as the first 2. So we already know they can do it. Part of the entertainment of improv is the story. The other part is the process and seeing if we can pull it off. People don't go to see, people want the people on a high wire to walk across because we love humans and we want them to live. But we also kind of hope they fall. Like hopefully and be safe. So those times we do stumble a little bit, it adds to the excitement because it's another way of proving to the audience that this is all made up.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's generally just being okay with that awkwardness. Having fun with when things go wrong, always knowing that there's a possibility for error is somewhere should be in your in your approach to play. And
there's got to be an acceptance to that too. Like, watching a world-class improviser have a hiccup on stage is absolutely amazing because we put these people on pedestals and we don't want them to fail, but it's like, oh, they're human too. That's great. Please keep on entertaining us because you're amazing. No one's ever like, fuck that guy. Fuck him. Fuck everybody on that stage. I want my money back. They asked the question. Oh.
Yeah. Look, so my mind's going into a weird mode with on this.
Go for it. Follow it.
right now. So
Embrace it. Yeah.
let's look up a couple ideas real
Okay.
quick. Because now I'm thinking too that you could okay, new advice. You tag person you tag
You're just
person
showing the
B,
old advice, doing the new advice. I love it. I'm sorry, I talked over you. Please.
completely clean the slate. You just tried to tag out person B, but person A left and you're stuck with person B. And as Nicole says, everyone is awk. And there's this moment of like everyone kind of holding their breath of like break into song.
I feel like that's what Nicole does anyways. But hey there, mister.
Or just turn out to audience and then monologue and walk with a purpose toward the end of the stage. I mean,
just go for it.
Yeah.
Pull out the flashlight from your pocket, put it slightly under your chin. Tell everyone you're a ghost.
Yeah.
And then leave the theater.
Or yeah, just start patting them down to see. I don't know. Like to me, there's something about like taking those opportunities where there's this heart skips a beat or everyone holds their breath, these like pregnant pauses where everything is hung in the air for a moment. And those moments happen a lot in moments of error and mistakes. And I feel like as opposed to trying to fix it, I would love to see more people lean into it.
Right.
And just like magnify the error.
Yeah. Oh, what better tension, right?
Yeah.
Really quick, shout out from the living room, Natalie Rojas, also our friend April Drake, and Michael Owen Smith joining us on the watch party.
Yeah. Welcome to the watch party, baby.
Welcome to the watch party.
Well, we are taking questions. We're talking initially about the topic of questions in improv. The rule against questions, when questions are okay, how and why, and then we kind of open it up to some general Q&A, and so now we're on the topic of tag edits that go wrong, and also more generally what to do with awkward moments in a moment of error. I mean, what like. Some people also really don't like the meta thing or the thing that I'm suggesting, which is like rip the scene apart instead of.
I mean, I agree with that if it becomes your thing. I think it should be used as a very rare spice, and when it does happen, it's cool. I don't know. You know what? I fuck that, because I just thought about like Two Man No Show, and they do that all the time, and it's fantastic. So I mean. Yeah, I guess I like it.
Yeah, you know what I was thinking. And again, Two Man No Show is always going to be like a special brand of their ability, what they do. But I agree. And one thing that I was thinking the other day though is about how it is important if you're going to deviate from something. To have something to deviate from, meaning keep it together for a little while, do your best to commit to things and build a strong foundation of something, whether that's the specific scene or the form or the show or the game or the rules of the game, you know, if you're doing short form, before you start deviating from them.
I agree. I honestly, like, my personal rule, not that it should be anybody else's rule, but this is how I enjoy playing. Total preference thing. Okay, I got all the things up in front of this statement. Full disclosure. When I play weird or if I go to fuck world, I like to have at least one relatable thing in that world, like that kind of ties it, one toe in reality, one thing anchoring this, something relatable. So it could be, I could be playing a crazy alien, but I love my kids. Something that people can relate to, whether it's an emotion or, like the feeling of, mostly it's emotion, because that's something that can be easily established, and you can connect with the audience too. I'm an alien who's all powerful, but I hate going to work. I fucking hate Mondays. Just something silly.
Yeah, it's good to have 90% weird, 10% ordinary, or vice versa. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just too tempted to really ride things off the rails. I what do you do? Speaking of like awkward moments, like if you, when you see like errors or contradictions, like, and you get caught in this moment of like, this isn't adding up, or like you can kind of see
Right.
what is missing, or like I don't know, what's your go-to move there?
It depends on the player. If it's like if because sometimes I enjoy being in that weird space. Like if it was me 15 years ago, I would die inside. Me now, I would just start slowly doing object work and just vast in it. Like no one this is total chaos. I love it. The wrong thing to do is to add more to it, to make the monster bigger. Yeah.
I mean,
If you just want to go to non sequitur town, you can fill up a cart. Just,
sometimes that's my impulse though, is
right.
like, it's lateral, I guess it's lateral thinking of like maybe it's like, if you can't beat them, join them, or like, instead of feeling like you have to fix everything, I think you're right, that it's a better habit to be in, to gracefully realign things.
Yeah, I mean, if you stop and start doing object work, you have the reset option, which is give it a couple beats, get a long pregnant pause, and the first thing that comes out of your mouth becomes relevant. And if you want to, you can even repeat the first line of dialogue, and it practically resets the whole thing. And you have all the knowledge you gain between the first time you said the line and the second time you said the line, and just kind of nitpick what you need and then grow from there.
Yeah. Okay. Moody's chiming in here.
Oh man, what's Moody saying?
Moody wants to know if you have to go number 2 before or during a set. Should you just leave or power through and hope for the best?
Well, how long's the set? If it's the middle of a showdown, man, that could be another 45 minutes.
Yeah. Real talk. Have you ever been bursting at the seams in any regard during a show? Close accidents?
Yeah, and that's when you like agreed to be like the the party host and party quirks, and you run out there and throw a Hail Mary.
Yeah, I've been really close to peeing on stage.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I think actually once I was really close to throwing up. And once I've been really close to passing out. I have this I sometimes I get head rushes and dizzy spells or whatever. It's pretty rare, and it used to happen more when I was younger. But I would coming out of the shower or just like standing up sometimes would get like dizzy spells. And that happened to me once on stage, and I had to just kind of like I didn't like go completely faint, but I started to see like stars, and I was
wow.
I had to chill.
I think I almost puked on stage. It was I think you were there. It was the night where the 3 audience members puked. Like we had a really drunk house, and it's like I have this thing, and if anybody uses this against me, I'll be pissed because I think you know about this. I don't like watching people spit or puke. Like it makes me sick. Oh man, or do snot rockets or anything with that coming out just makes me sick. And man, I heard one person puke, and I was like, oh fuck. And then the person in the back of the house got sick, and then right next to me, someone started doing it. I was like, I can't. If I get a whiff of this, I'm done, man.
Yeah, that was a nightmare night, and 2 unrelated reasons. One dude had too much to drink, and I thought that what had happened in the corner of the room was somebody reacting the way that you're describing, which is like
right.
Hearing it or seeing it or smelling it or something, and then throwing up too. But what had happened is unrelated. She came out and she was like, "I'm so sorry. I had fish for dinner, and it just didn't sit well with me."
Oh no, I didn't know about that. I thought it was because that was during the wedding season, and that's what we usually get, all the bachelorette parties.
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
Related. Worst audience member ever is the aunt of the bride. All time, aunt of the bride. Especially if she's the cool aunt, because she's a person who had been cool and had high tolerance, and it's her night to go out. She's got a babysitter, and she's gonna hang with the young people, and she gets loaded. And when she gets loaded, she loves her niece. She loves her niece so much that when her niece is not the center of attention at an improv show, she gets pissed and she gets loud, and that's all she wants to talk about. Maria's getting married.
Yeah.
Aunt Jill, stop it.
Yeah, that happened with a mother of the bride, actually, in a bachelorette party at a Go Comedy show I was managing. And the mother of the bride, I didn't know she was until after the fact, because that became like their biggest complaint or defense was like, she's the mother of the bride, for God's sake.
Yeah.
But
it's their birthday,
yeah.
So they can't be cool.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, I had to go over and be like, I'm so sorry, but you really have to keep it down. You're making a lot of noise over here. And she's like, excuse me. And I was like, if you want to hang out in the lobby, you are more than welcome to do that. Like, you don't have to leave, but you can't just make that much noise in here. The show's going on. And then, I am the mother of the bride defense started. And I was like, yes. And that still applies.
In a court of law, what does that mean? I don't know.
Yep.
Surprisingly, I never had too many issues with bachelor parties. Because I guess it's the kind of guy who goes to an improv show at his bachelor party isn't really going wild that night.
Yeah, and honestly, I think if guys get rowdy, they're more likely to just leave.
Yeah.
Get rowdy or like be loud, talkative in the room. They'll probably just be like, "This fucking sucks. I'm not even paying attention. I'm gonna go hang at the bar." Yeah.
Well, yeah. You can always bribe them at the bar. Like, hey man, they're gonna stop serving you in here, but if you want to go to the bar, you can drink as much as you want. Okay.
They're gonna stop serving you in here. Hey man, I heard a rumor they're gonna be, they haven't
after challenge in a minute, no more beers, man. You gotta go.
But they haven't started spreading around your description yet. So if you go to the bar, they're not gonna recognize you.
I told the bartender it was your birthday. You should go out there.
Yeah, dude. There's some hot chick in the lobby asking for you. Yeah, but so speaking of awkward moments, we've talked about a little bit with like the stage presence with Jamie, but like I feel like I've been because I was managing Go for a few years. I feel like I've been the manager in the situation of that kind of ruckus much more than I've been on stage for it. I mean, how do you let's say it's not really hecklers or people that you're interacting with, because I feel like that's the topic that we've covered in previous episodes, but like yeah, like the throw up where it's like in that situation we started pulling out tables because this guy made that much of a mess, not to be graphic, but we had to pull out I think 2 tables and like 6 or 8 chairs and mop the carpet during the show. And then hose things down out on the sidewalk. Like, that's a lot of activity to be going on, you know? Or like while if somebody's being asked to leave or go to the lobby or whatever, like how do you kind of stay in the zone when you're on stage while all this ruckus is going on?
Honestly, like at every theater I've worked at, there's always been a really great staff. And you just gotta trust those people. Honestly, Pointless had a great staff. People who work at the Ant, incredible staff. You know, nothing but love for the people that go, because man, they all three theaters have always taken care of me, and anywhere else I've been. Honestly, I've never really had an issue with staff, so you just trust those people to take care of and do their job. You know, you can't. People are paid to watch you, so the worst thing to do is to stop the show for that one person. You know.
Yeah, totally. But I guess I'm just like, it's got to pull you out of it to some degree.
Oh yeah.
Like, so like, what is going on in your head of just like, are you just kind of with this face of like, okay,
yeah, we got time to, and you got to amp it up, which is like, it sucks, but you do, because it's kind of it's your job to distract them from their shitty day. So if their day was great until they got into your theater and then became shitty, it's more important for you to, you know, bring the funny.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, it's tough, man. I feel like, again, I feel like if it was Isaac and Ken, there is part of me that just wants to have free license, because if Ken, they would be like, oh, what happened? What did he do? Does he have to go? Oh, like they would not try to put a blind eye to it. They would indulge in it. It's like, that's the most interesting thing in the room, you know, like that. And that's kind of like how I can't tell if it's just something that I've been fixated on in the last few years, or if it's something that I'm really coming to believe about live theater experiences, and especially improv, where there isn't a script or a promise to anyone to stick to anything. I believe that if the most interesting thing in the room is not the scene, then you do not need to. You should have a way to play with that and not necessarily try to keep the scene together.
I probably would wait till after they left, though. I mean, like, honestly, because I think of like a situation like if Patty's manager and she's trying to get some big drunk guy to leave, the last thing I want to do is poke the bear. But I agree. Like, as soon as he's gone, he's got a target on his back.
Yeah,
that guy.
if it's a physical safety threat, different story for sure.
Yeah. Because like I totally agree with you though. Like, if something took away that much from the show, it should be part of the show, because it's at the front of everybody's mind. It's kind of like when something happens in the news, we get the same suggestions all the time. You know, I remember when Octomom happened, and we got Octomom like for everything. Can I get what's an occupation? Octomom. Like, I guess yes. Being a mother is an occupation. Can I get a celebrity? Octomom. Like, you consider that a celebrity?
It's funny to get news from the audience too. I remember the first time I heard about what twerking was as a suggestion, and I had to look it up after. I might have been hosting. Somebody said twerking, and I was like, twerking? Working? Are you saying working?
Yeah.
Twerking with a T, and then having to look it up. I can't tell you how I used it, but maybe that's a interesting topic. If you don't know what the suggestion is, what's the best way to make use of it anyway?
Oh, use it however you want. I actually have a great story. So we were doing a showdown, and I think we're playing Rule 3. We're playing Party Quirks, and my celebrity was Honey Boo Boo. I had no idea what the fuck a Honey Boo Boo was. I thought it was some shit for kids. So I come out and like, hey everybody, no, it wasn't Party Quirks. It was something where I can actually say the name. Like I was like, I had a celebrity or something. Hey everybody, I'm Honey Boo Boo, and everybody is just laughing. So I'm like, oh, I'm nailing this. So I lean into it. Just, you want me to juggle? Because I'm Honey Boo Boo. And it could have been, I couldn't set it up any better because I remember Pete was hosting, and at the end he's like doing the Pete thing, hey Bob, do you know who Honey Boo Boo is? And I was like, oh no, I have no idea. And everybody, the whole room just died, but they were entertained. And then I unfortunately had to find out what a Honey Boo Boo was, and my life decreased a little.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, it really is just go big or go home. If nothing else, you can use what it sounds like, and I guess you're either going to be what you're going to be spot on, which is a miracle if you don't know what the thing is. Or you might be like slightly off, and people just think you're not doing a great job, but you're still committed to it, so they're like, eh. Or you're going to be way off, and that might be the funniest thing.
Right.
So whatever you do, go big or go home.
I mean, unfortunately, there's going to be things like I've never played Fortnite, and I'm sure there's things in Fortnite that when it comes up as a subject is a staple, and I will completely miss that. Sorry, man. I'm 42 years old. I don't play that game.
Yeah. Although, so what are your thoughts on like to what degree is it an improviser's responsibility to kind of stay up on trends and news and pop culture?
I think it is a part of the responsibility to live an interesting life and to get a little bit of knowledge. Like going back to Fortnite, I know they all dance, so that'd be my go-to. Like just have enough for a go-to thing, or And if a subject comes up often enough, I'll look into it, just to have that as a background. I watched, what was it? Where you give a rose to people, The Bachelor, just because it kept on coming up. Like it was great. I'm not disappointed.
Like a season of it,
just a couple episodes, just to get I get the gist. Well, I think it almost became a whole season because I started watching it for me.
Yeah, that's funny. Because I had seen it, but I wonder. I'm trying to think if there's something that could come up enough for me to watch like a full season of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, something like Shakespeare, like that was something. All I was familiar with Shakespeare coming into this was Romeo and Juliet, because that's all we really covered in high school. And I just didn't have enough exposure to it. But when we went out to Pointless, that Shakespeare was coming up like every other weekend. So I've those Ann Arbor kids, man, they love some William S. So had to dig into it. So I actually went out to see plays. They had Shakespeare in the Park. Check that out. And, it's a great time. It's something unusual, and that's kind of the job, is to live an unusual life and look into unusual things.
Yeah, that's a great point. Well said.
What about you? Have you ever done any research?
Yeah, I mean, there was a time when I do a better job now of keeping up with news and headlines and current events and things like that. But it's never been something that I just have social media, news, electronic consumption of things is really hard for me, and to build a habit out of. So like, I never had a built-in way of taking in the news. you know, that's something that you should probably address, regardless of whether or not you're doing it for improv's sake. But I definitely went through a period where I was like, let me just kind of try to figure out what the hell is going on in the world. And I did think about it as like a improv research project, which sounds stupid, but like you said, they go hand in hand. It's like become a better person to become a better improviser, become a better improviser to become a better person.
Right.
And yeah, that's the main thing that I changed.
Obviously, all you need is a broad knowledge because you have to reference. You don't have to become an expert in anything, unless you want to, you know.
Yeah,
but it helps. I mean, there's been so many times I've been in scenes with like Gary and Loria, and they are history buffs, and like, well, I'm gonna be guy number 3 in the background and just do my object work until I can say something relevant.
Yeah, or even, you know, now that I think about it, I think there was a time when, because same thing again with like consuming electronic content. I never really watched TV. Once I got to college, as soon as I was like an adult on my own, I just couldn't really afford a nice TV or cable, so it was like video games and or nothing. But anyway, I didn't get a lot of like cable or network. So like when we play changing channels, I wasn't familiar with a lot of what's on these niche networks, and there was a time when I just like went through and kind of I didn't watch the content. I just went through and like looked at like what is on QVC and TRL, or not TRL. What am I thinking of? TLC. And you know, just to get a vibe for some of the more common ones that we were getting all the time in the shows. All right, Bob.
Okay.
I've had about enough of this.
Right.
I'm here.
Right.
That's how I'm gonna start.
Well, let's talk about like if someone asks you the question like, okay, I'm gonna start doing, you know, do a lot more like showdown type shows where I get a lot of like I have to approach a bunch of subjects that I may or may not know about. What would you suggest like categories to study?
I guess I would probably recommend breaking it into broad categories of like just to hit the top trends on like you know, news, current events in general, news headlines and politics, and then pop culture, music and entertainment. You know, you don't have to pull out your best impression of every pop star or frontman in a band or whatever, but you should know if there's headlining stories in there. I'm trying to think of there's another category.
Yeah, especially like local stuff. Like if you know someone's coming to concert, like I'm not saying you have to check like, you know, Ticketmaster every week, but if some, you know, if you know that someone's coming to concert, they're probably going to be referenced for the next couple of weeks going up to it. If it's something popular, so maybe having a slight impression or your impression of them available could help.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point because that's
what's
probably
in the zeitgeist. Yeah,
everybody. If you are in if you're doing an improv show, especially a weekend show, you can probably bet that everybody who came to see that show came to see it as one of many options. And so like look at what are date night options and going out and entertainment options, recreational options locally, because you're right, more than likely everybody who came to see your show knows what the other options were for this weekend or are going to be for the next weekend.
Yeah. I mean, specifically like in Ferndale, we're on 9 Mile, and almost every other weekend there's a new festival. So knowing what the name of the festival is, what's that festival promoting, and the kind of people who go to that festival are three things I try to know going into the showdown. Because if someone brings up like Woodward Dream Cruise, I kind of know I'm going to do a Garrett type, character. Not Garrett himself, the performer, like, the Wayne kind of life. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And again, probably like, dating apps is another thing that I had to,
Right.
familiarize myself with, because, I haven't been single since I started improvising.
Bragger.
So, something like that, a culture of e-dating and app dating is like, foreign to me, basically. And
Right.
I had to take a look at like what the whole like swipe right or left phenomenon is like.
Mm-hmm.
That went over my head for a little while.
Yeah, especially when it became a term people use when they're not using the app. Oh, it's swipe left on that one. No, thank you.
Yeah, I wish there were an easier way to look at buzzwords.
Yeah.
Or buzz phrases. Maybe BuzzFeed reference.
Reference.
Look, man, I'm done here. I'm done with this. That's the new outro for the show. Like,
I'm done. I got about an hour of conversation in me a week, Wick. We're done. We're almost expired.
But yeah, so we started with the topic of questions,
right?
In improv, and then we got to some other questions about improv. So thanks for tuning in, and thanks to Chris and to Nicole for asking questions. If you're watching this now, you are seeing us on our YouTube channel or Facebook page. We are also a podcast, so you can get episodes wherever podcasts are available. And all the most current, complete content is going to be on YouTube and Facebook, specifically YouTube. But we are current with these at-length episodes on podcast. Thanks for joining. We'll catch you next time on Improv FAQ at length.
Bye.